love to come here at the skate park when we are not training jiu-jitsu, and
they do tennis.
tennis, yeah.
We go to the beach sometimes.
Yeah. Gabriel
Actually,
starting.
might go more often, like next spring.
Yeah, he's doing more bodyboarding as well. So I surf, and yeah, we have a lot of fun out of the jiu-jitsu when we're not training. We're looking forward to do another sports, and I've touched football as well. Yeah, I'm Pedro Rodriguez. I'm from Brazil, Barra da Tijuca, Rio de Janeiro, and yeah, I grew up in Barra da Tijuca, and Barra da Tijuca is like a suburb, and that's why people might not understand that Gracie Barra is from Barra. And Barra da Tijuca is a suburb pretty much like Gold Coast, yeah, so it's beaches everywhere, there's some buildings, some channels around as well, and everybody that lives there used to do a lot of sport, jiu-jitsu, surfing, and it's a great lifestyle.
My name is Daisi, Professor Pedro's wife. I have been a Gracie Barra team member for the last, I believe, 8 years now. I'm from South Brazil, from Porto Alegre. I met Pedro back in 2003. So that's when we started to date. Pedro was a purple belt at the time.
Gracie Barra was established 1986. Yeah. So that when Master Carlos moved to Barra da Tijuca, and he named the school, first school, Barra Gracie. It wasn't Gracie Barra before, yeah, it was Barra Gracie. And then we don't say Barra Gracie, it's Barra Gracie, yeah. And yeah, he didn't name after himself, he named after the suburb. Because he always had a vision of team, never had a vision of himself. Because as you can see, most of the schools or races, they name the schools after themselves. If you see, they name Gracie, they name something else. Everywhere, any gym used to be like this, especially long time ago. But he never done that. He started with Barra, yeah, and was Barra Gracie. And then after moved to United States, in California, so that's when he changed the name to Gracie Barra. Actually, Gracie Barra, yeah, because I think it makes more sense as well in English, yeah. All right, so I've always been a very energetic kid, yeah. So my mom used to enroll me in everything, yeah. So I used to do 3 activities, maybe not a week, but a day, yeah. And then I start early with, of course, I started judo was the first one, karate, taekwondo, I did capoeira, till I finally made jiu-jitsu, yeah. And then as soon as I started training jiu-jitsu, I fell in love with it, and never stopped since. So this started when I was 15. I was 15, and I was training in the gym next to my house, and it wasn't Gracie Barra. Then when I started training, I didn't start in Gracie Barra, and after a while I changed to Gracie Barra because I was young, and then I started training. Didn't have teams back then, yeah, so the only team that there was Gracie Barra. Everybody else was just, like I said, a name. Yeah, so like we were training was Otávio Couto, Jiu-Jitsu, and everybody used to put the name and Jiu-Jitsu, you know, or sometimes the name of the gym. That was a gym. We used to be training inside some gyms, stuff like this. And then there was a team, and then I was pretty happy. It was a great time that I had there. So, but then we started to grow up, and in suburb, in Barra da Tijuca, there was a lot of community and then I was pretty involved with the community and obviously the team, you know, because what the team was in Barra was Grace Barra or Barra Grace, and pretty much all of my friends used to train in Barra Grace, so I was only me training in another place, and it was nothing to do with the place, but it was to do with what I was. I was part of the community. All of my friends used to train in Gracie Barra. Gracie Barra was actually Barra Grace was the most popular, and then especially in Barra, yeah. So and then I started feel I was a little bit a part of the what I was being part of. I was a little bit feeling out, you know, so I'm not feeling engaged with what I was doing because I used to spend a whole day with my friends, but by the time that we used to go to training, to jiu-jitsu, I had to go somewhere else where everybody used to go to Gracie Barra, you know, and that was a little bit tricky with me. I had to, so inside me I started, I'm gonna have to change this. It's not what I want. So my friends are training. I want to train with my friends, you know. And then how I believe we should be. We should be training with our friends where we want to be. It's nothing to do with the other school. I used to love the people there. I used to love my professor there. I learned a lot with him, and I really appreciate what he has done for me. But it wasn't this, there's nothing to do with this. But yes, to be with my friends, you know. And then I started to fall in love as well with the team, with the Grace Barra, with Barra Grace, because I want to be there. So in the end of the day, I was training in a place that I don't want to be there. I was training there thinking about to be Grace Barra. I was training there thinking about to be training with my friends, you know. And at that time, we used to compete, and then imagine, you walk with them, but then you compete with the other team, and then after a while they start to create teams as well. So they start to create teams. That's when we started Alliance, Nova União, and then it start to start to narrow even more for me. You know, start to get even worse because and then there was a team. Before I didn't have a team. You know, I could live in Barra, walk with my friends, and then train in that gym. But then that gym started to be a part of the big team. So and then now what? So I had to make a decision, and so that's when I start training Gracie Barra. Professor Soca is my professor. He's also black belt in the Master Carlos. He's from Master Carlos from white to black belt. And I trained there. I don't remember the year, but I was purple belt by then. And then I trained there. I get my brown belt, and then I moved to Australia. So when I moved to Australia, I started training Professor Marcelo. So again, Professor Marcelo is under Master Carlos. Gracie, he's student of Master Carlos, from white to black belt as well. And that's when I started my history in Jiu-Jitsu in the Gracie Barra in Australia. Back in the days I was training in Rio de Janeiro with my friends. It was really hard as well to train at that time. There was a lot of suburb and divisions, you know, going on. So I couldn't be training in the other gyms with my friends if I was part of the other team, and especially if this team was from another suburb. Because what happened in Barra da Tijuca, the only gym that used to have that, the only jiu-jitsu we used to have in that team was Barra Grace. There wasn't teams there. The only team was Barra Grace, and then started to have another teams. And so it was going to be very hard for me to train in the other Gracie Barra, in the other place, training in another team. If you go back then, back those days, training somewhere else that wasn't a part of your team, so you wouldn't go, yeah. But if you did, it was like consider you've already changed team, you know. So you'd never go training somewhere else that wasn't part of your team. But if you just go there just to train, you know, because my friend trained there, I just wanna have fun today, was considered already what we call creonte, you know. So even to train one day, you don't want to change the team, but you just want to go there and have fun because some of your friends train on that team. You didn't have this chance. You would have to swap team. Yeah, it's like you moved teams just because you went there and trained there. So it was considered creonte. Creonte was a name that Carson Grace invented in the 90s. Yeah. Related to people that used to move teams or train in different teams, you know. So just to go in there and train, creonte, you know. So that's how we used to call people that this thing doesn't happen these days anymore. But it is good to know a little bit.
Back in 2008, we were 5 years together, and I had some friends that were living in Australia, and that was a good timing for me to come financially to come to Australia. And I always had this dream to go overseas because I've never been overseas before that. Pedro was always like the very carioca guy, you know, living with the mom, you know, I'm here with my friends, I do jiu-jitsu, this is my life here, I'm happy, I always want more. So I decided I want to come to Australia to come and study English. I convinced him to come. So that's when we came to Australia and started living together. So we stayed here for almost 2 years and we decided that we want to go back to Brazil. We went back to Brazil, we were ready for living together. We were there, life was good. I had my son, Gabriel. Well, after my son was born, we decided to come back. The main reason was for the safety, because when I was here back in 2008, I used to babysit a lot of kids. I work as a cleaner, you know, all the jobs that students come to Australia they do. So I worked as a cleaner. I was babysitting lots of kids. I could see how they could have like a healthier life, not regarding what you can eat, but the lifestyle. You know, you can go to the parks. You can have an outdoor life. So that was very hard for us to be in Brazil, living, even if we had a comfortable life, but living in Brazil like locked up in complex, you know, with where you live your life inside, wherever you go outside, it's danger, it's scary. So when Gabriel was 15 months old, we came back to Australia. That was back November 2017.
So when I moved to Australia, I didn't move to Australia with the purpose to live throughout jiu-jitsu, to open a school. I came to Australia with different purpose. And then things started changing. And then I started training, and then I met Professor Marcelo, and then back then, Gracie Barra, it was, I think, 10 years ago, I believe, but 10 years ago, Gracie Barra had already changed. It was another Gracie Barra that I wasn't used to before, because before, we used to do the old school, yeah, like too many gyms used to do these days. It's an old school style. It didn't have proper mats, rashi, proper uniform, curriculums. Wasn't like we are used to these days in Gracie Barra. So Gracie Barra had already changed. We used to use rash. There is a lot of introduction. It's changing jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu was changing already. Yeah. So when I get to Gracie Barra, I always see different gym that I used to before. So I went there and wow, this is nice, this is great. And then I met Professor Marcelo, started training, great environment, great jiu-jitsu, great atmosphere, and tough training, but not as rough as before, you know. So, and then I started understanding better what was going on, and then started training, and then things that I came here to do wasn't going well, and then Gracie Barra was growing up a lot in jiu-jitsu itself was growing in Australia. It is till now, but then and in Gracie Barra especially with this new setup and it was like back then was I think there was 5 schools including Professor Marcelo. It's a headquarter in Sydney. I think there was 5 more was growing, and then I could see, and talking to Professor Marcelo, I saw maybe, because like I said, what was supposed to do here wasn't going well, and then I changed my mind. I said, wow, so I love jiu-jitsu. I always loved jiu-jitsu, but I've never had the opportunity to live throughout jiu-jitsu. You have jiu-jitsu lifestyle, you have jiu-jitsu for life, because in Brazil it's very hard to be successful, to live, to make a live through jiu-jitsu. It's just a few can do this before in my mentality, because I didn't know the new Gracie Barra way. And then I started changing my mind. Professor Marcelo started to guide me, show me, and that's how we're doing now. It's great, this and that. I started to learn more. I learned a lot of jiu-jitsu with him as well. I got my black belt with him, and so he was a great mentor for me, and not only in jiu-jitsu but also in the business side as well. And then I started changing my mind. So that's the thing. Maybe we should open a school. And then I started to considering about to open a school. And so I started. We moved to the place to open a school was in Burleigh. So we moved to Burleigh. So I started there. So I opened a school there. And then that was my beginning. We start from scratch. And so I living in Burleigh, I kept going back to Sydney to train because I had to keep training myself. I wasn't training. I moved to a place that there wasn't much jiu-jitsu, and I had to keep training. And I was due to get my black belt. I haven't get my black belt yet, so I had to keep training to accomplish the black belt as well. And I started to open a school. And I opened the school as a brown belt, used to commute to Sydney for training, and then I got my black belt, and then we keep, of course, and then and then I didn't have to go much to Sydney, but the things start to go well, the school starts growing, we start to have a lot of students. And then one day one of my students proposed me to open another school with him. He was brown belt as well. And then we opened another school. So we opened another school in Burleigh, in Campbell Town. It's a suburb next to Burleigh, 40 minutes drive. And so we started ending up opening another school. And it wasn't part of the plan. We never thought about to open one school, so even more like 2 schools. It wasn't part of the plan, but then he proposed that we could do it. So I already had my black belt, the school was going well, and he was my student. I said, why not? So we did. And then he ended up sort of similar thing. We opened there, he kept training with me till he got his black belt. So he got his black belt and then kept growing his school, and again, one more successful school. And then the school started to grow. Campbell Town, the first year, before it was very hard to open school with students. It was very hard to get 200 students. That wasn't the reality of jiu-jitsu. Back then in Brazil, If you know how many students Master Carlos used to have in his gym in Barra da Tijuca, the original one, paying, yeah, because back then there was a lot of people that were using to pay jiu-jitsu. It was very common. People want to train and didn't want to pay. When I'll fight all the competition, I'll work here, do it. There was a lot of people that used to train and not paying, you know. But here, Master Carlos himself, he only had, if I'm not wrong, of course, just saying numbers here, but he never had 200 students paying, never. And his race is Master Carlos. How come? Yeah, because of the business struggle. And he never had that. I think he had 140 students max paying. There was more people training there, just saying, paying monthly, like that. And then we start to have another reality here. So because I saw the reality before, so I came from that background, so I knew how hard it was. Like I said, I never thought I could live through jiu-jitsu. And then I had one school and then open another one and 2 successful schools. I would have more than 100 students in each school. Like I was saying, in the first year, we had more than 100 schools. We opened the school. In the end of the year, we had already more than 100 schools. In less than 2 years, we had 200 people, or 100 schools, sorry, 100 students. So it was fast, you know. So I've never seen that thing before happening. And this because of work of what Gracie Barra is doing. Of course, the way we are working really hard. We're doing everything right. And the guidance of Professor Marcelo and all the work Professor Marcelo do in here in Australia is always really important. Because if it wasn't for him start everything, we could never achieve that. And then so I saw, wow, this is great. And so I've never expected that, like I said. And then after a while, we had to move to Gold Coast. So that's when I ended up here, Burleigh, because of the visa issue. So we had to open another school in a regional place, I think, something like that, because of the visa has to be in a different area, and that area couldn't open something like that. So we moved. So we came here. That's when we moved to Gold Coast, and then we start another chapter.
Back in Burleigh, on our first day of opening of GB Burleigh, we were there cleaning, brushing everything, and then this Aussie guy pops in. Hey mate, are you guys opening today? He said yes. Can I pop in? I said yeah, more than welcome. So he came. He was a purple belt at the time, and he started to get to the class. He was so hooked in. He started to do some casual classes with us, and then eventually he became a member. He used to train in another jiu-jitsu school. I can't remember if it was a jiu-jitsu or MMA school, but he used to train in this other place and work at the mines. So for him, he has like a back injury, and it was hard for him to work at the mines. And then he started to be there with us and then talk to us about his life in the mines. That's hard. It's dark, you go there, you spend like 12 hours, and there's like, look, there are so many opportunities. Why don't you open your own school? And he started to think about that, and eventually he became a member, and then we opened Gracie Barra Campbelltown. He was very scared at the moment because opening a new school, doing all that stuff. So he asked us if we could be his business partner, and we said, yeah, why not? So we opened together. I used to help Professor Clint with all the administration stuff, and we opened GB Campbelltown. For first year, I gave him the support that he needed and trying to teach him everything that I knew before with what I learned at GB Burleigh. So And the money that we sold our shares, that was the money that we had in hands, So what we're gonna do? We can invest, buy our first home, or we can invest in the school. So that's where we use the money to invest. At GB, Burleigh had to open the school the way. Back when we left Burleigh, we had to put a professor to work there, and the Professor Lucas was the one that was helping us. So with time, things changed. Professor Lucas had to move, and then there was an opportunity for him to come and open Gracie Barra with heads. For me, it was very easy, all the process that I have been doing, contracts, administration, finding a lease, building up a gym, because between this time I have already done Wollongong, Campbelltown, Varsity Lakes, and then rebuilt where we were before in here. So I did already 4 gyms. So we did tweet heads. Professor Lucas needs some help as well in the beginning. So I did the same as I did with Professor Clint. I did with Professor Lucas. We don't want GP tweet heads anymore. Now Professor Lucas on himself, and that was the deal. The deal was only helping him in the beginning. So after that happened, it came to my mind like how easy it was for me to build it up the gyms, All the gyms, I knew the process, I knew everything, I knew how it worked inside the gym because I basically worked for 7 years behind the desk. I know all the process and everything. So for me it was easy to open another school. So with that, it came to, after many brainstorms, Pedro and I always said like, I wanted to open more schools. So it was easy for us like making a plan for the future, so that's when we decide like, look, there is a spot between us and GB Service Paradise, someone else later on is gonna open. Why it's not us? Why we not get that spot in the school? We are already here. We have so many people in the team inside the school that has a potential to become working with us in the future. Why not? So we recently opened GB Broad Beach. So while Pedro was doing all the work here in Burleigh, I focused myself on the opening of GB Broad Beach. So I did all renovations and everything we had to do in 2 weeks. So that was my new record in time for building a school and opening a school. So GB Broad Beach has been open for a month, and so far it's going very well. So after that, it was a point, a break, a point for me that like I always want more because I'm a very active person. I like to keep busy, so I said like I can't see myself anymore behind the desk because I think I got to a level where that doesn't give me. I don't feel like I'm producing more. I feel like I have so much more to give that I have my time limit when I work behind the desk. So I said to Pedro, why don't we plan open high school every year? We are already doing things that have been working, so for many years since our beginning of partnership, we always had this joke where, you look after your square and I look after my square. We were referring to you look after the mats and I look after the reception. So I always see all this paperwork, numbers. I always log now that we have been building things that we have been doing, we realize it's been working for us, you know, in a certain way that it's not helping only us, but it's helping the whole team. I feel like in Gracie Barra, I feel very connected with my team, you know. I feel like it's a team that really gives me the opportunity, because even if I'm not there often on the mats, I have such a good support from my team members to keep doing, you know, especially Professor Marcelo. He gave us and keep giving us so many opportunities and chances for us to grow, not only as a team member but as a person. I think we do have many opportunities to come, and I feel that we can do with other people as well, and that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to reproduce many Daisis and many Pedros to become themselves, you know, and having their own schools, because I think the best part is when I used to live in Burleigh, I used to feel that we had so much connection with the other schools because there were so many, and we could always catch up and talk about it. And then when we moved to the Gold Coast, there was not many schools, and I felt that was like I missed the connection with my team, you know. And so we don't have this here yet. We're still building out. That is to be surface, that is to be tweet heads, Musa, hardly ever we go to Sunshine Coast. But imagine if we have the same number of schools here in Queensland, that's going to be probably duplicating Sydney as well. Imagine the connection that we can all have with each other. For Pedro and I, we went to Gracie Barra World Summit back in 2019. And that was amazing, the connection, you know. We were visiting all the schools, we were in this, I was in all business workshops. I was meeting so many people, and I really loved that connection. And I felt like this is what we need to do here, you know. And this is exactly what the philosophy of Gracie Barra. It's not only growing, but growing together. So I think Pedro and I, we do have this vision, you know, of course following the vision of Master Carlos Gracie Jr. of having one school in each city. So it will be financially, we're gonna have a benefit financially, yes, but the pleasure of having so many people connected, it's so much bigger.
Teaching Jiu-Jitsu here in Australia, I learned a lot with Professor Marcelo. I learned a lot with all of my professors. Yeah, so I think it was great for me to have a little bit of each one of them, because each one of them had a different thing, different style, and like everybody else, every people has different things to give to you. And so throughout my journey and teaching here, so I learned the new Gracie Barra way, which is great, which is fantastic, because I wish to have this when I started. Sometimes I play with my students. Man, you guys are lucky, because if we had this, that's what I wish to have back then. Curriculums, structure, method, you know. Before it was chaos. We started class and then didn't know when we're gonna finish. Some class last for 1 hour, some 2 hours, you know. So the warm up sometimes was 30 minutes, sometimes was 1 hour, sometimes didn't have any more. So, and then no structure. We learned something today, and then tomorrow different things, nothing relates to that thing. So chaos, yeah. That's what Jiu-Jitsu before. Yeah, there was nothing wrong. That's how Jiu-Jitsu was presented to us. And too many places to do like that. There's nothing wrong. It's just the old school style. That's how I can see it. And throughout this process, I learned a lot how to pass this to my students as well. And and something that's really important, some values that Jiu-Jitsu brought to me is the changes. It's how good it was for me. How Jiu-Jitsu has significant changed my life. Yeah. So we used to say we don't save lives, but we do change them, and that's how Jiu-Jitsu did for me. So I was playing with my friend there, cameraman. He has long hair. I used to have long hair as well. You know, use piercings and earrings. Can you imagine that? I believe not. And so this was a transformation. It's a transformation from inside. And then he said, how they did? They cut it off. They pull it off. They might, because before there was places very rough. Maybe if you appear, they would show up on the train with the earring. They might took it off like, from your ear. But that wasn't what was happening to me. It was a change, you know. So it was changing from inside. I started to change my lifestyle, change the way I connect to people, the way I live, the things that I used to do. And this is something that I used to say to my students as well. So you're gonna start to train Jiu-Jitsu, and then you start to train Jiu-Jitsu, and then Jiu-Jitsu is gonna be something that you do. And after a while, when you start to live the lifestyle, you see, because that's when Jiu-Jitsu is part of you. So it's two things on your journey, and then you're gonna be able to see it. Yeah, so most of the people when you start training Jiu-Jitsu is something that they do, and then after a while, Jiu-Jitsu is part of you, and that's when you start to live the Jiu-Jitsu lifestyle. And that's the benefits that I try to pass to all my students. The change that Jiu-Jitsu can do in your life, and in Gracie Barra you can do this a safe place. You can do this, like I say, learning in a proper way, with safety. So with everything you do in Gracie Barra is about safety and care about our students. But it's important as well, like I was saying, is it's not a lot of people is worrying about how we do, what we do, when we do. But I think it's more important, and that's what we have in Gracie Barra, is why we do. We do because we love. We do because we want to do to the others what Jiu-Jitsu has done for us. And then that's pretty much what I can teach to my students.
But yeah, so I love it.
I actually use it.
Yeah, and I love to support him in anything that he does. So skateboard is something that he loves to do it, and I'm here with him most of the time. And yeah, sometimes I get some bruise, some yeah.
I got the sick massive one.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so big. So,
He really lost his teeth.
yeah. Actually,
Yeah.
No, I didn't lose my teeth. It just went up my gum.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Injuries. Yeah.
And then we
Some-
saw a
some-
guy, and we saw a guy had a twisted
some-
foot.
Yeah. Some tears and blood and bruise. But yeah, it's two in one piece.
all in, like, offset, like, before that, like, I usually just, like, slam myself to my ground usually. It's, like, off the, like, I don't add, like, I can't land it on my skateboard. I literally just, like, slam it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. And then we have a great time here because that's very nice place.
Oh, and
And then there is this new, this updated on this part here now.
I might do the Olympics soon.
Yeah, and yeah, it's great. We love to come here. Sometimes I leave him here riding his skateboard, and then I go for a walk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll do some running here because there's a good place to do jogging and stuff as well. And yeah, that's it.